Hello everybody and welcome again. I'm Justin Kennington with SDVoE Alliance. I'm joined today for a conversation with Alberto Zucchinali, the Senior Technical Manager from Siemon, and he's based in Italy. Thanks for joining us, Alberto. Welcome.
Thanks, Justin. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Siemon have been a member of SDVoE Alliance for several years now, and you're a little bit different than many of our members who build encoders, decoders, TVs. Siemon are focused on cable and structured cable infrastructure products.
Yep, true.
That's the foundation of an AV system, certainly of an IT system, but of an AV system as well. Talk a little bit about how important it is that the infrastructure is correct in any system, but especially AV.
Yeah. It's true. What you say, it's actually the fact that the physical layer has always been considered some way a negligible topic in any design. Let's say, okay, we need these actives, this software, and then, okay, cable
and we need some wires.
Do the job. Yeah. In reality, this is not the case at all. It wasn't the case years ago, and nowadays is much less, even possibly. If you want, the point is that delivering a flexible infrastructure to any system, to any installation, to any company would make their life much easier in order to be able to reconfigure, to upgrade, to update their systems even more when you schedule in advance or when you plan in advance for what will come in the next years. And if you consider the fact that the physical layer has a big impact on the initial costs of installation, because it has to do with the building itself. If you plan in advance with the right solution, with the right categories, with the right systems, you will be safe for years, and you will not have to waste your money again to replace everything just because you are not compliant anymore with the expected performances of your systems.
Right.
Again, if you want, the recent developments in everything over IP, convergence, PoE, see the physical layer as a key element, as a key factor.
Yeah.
Just because the quality of the cables that you use will make a big difference in fact, supporting the right power levels. So it's not data only anymore, but it's power in addition. It's a matter of having multiple systems running, just like Wi-Fi systems, and having the risk of some interference among those systems. Wireless interference could be there. In that sense, again, the difference in adopting a shielded solution could protect your data flow in the right way, or will not limit your range, your distance in the links that you will install due to the increase in temperature, for instance, due to the PoE implementation. So I guess that, again, as you said, that's the foundation of any system, very often forgotten some way by the designers.
Taken for granted, I would say.
Exactly. And again, in systems like those you show here, everything is running, expected to be running at 10 G. 10 G needs, as a minimum, Cat6a cabling, which is, I would say, a mandatory element. If you go downwards, your performance will not be at the right level.
It just becomes a question. To me, what I've observed in my own career in troubleshooting systems, it's that a problem with the physical layer is one of the most frustrating and challenging problems to get on top of. You know, you see it in our world. You see a TV go black, and immediately say, "Okay, what's wrong with my endpoint? What's wrong with my video scaler? What's wrong with this?" And you're still assuming that cable plant is working, but what if it's not? Then you get
exactly.
Talk a little about, in that light, a little bit about the importance of testing and certification of a final cable plant install.
Absolutely. I would say the quality of the system will depend on the initial design, on the real installation and implementation, and the final test in order to prove that what was done was done in the right way.
Right.
And this is actually a big part of our programs. We got a program related to, we call CI programs, Certified Installer Programs.
Okay.
So this means training the partners, companies, the installers in the right way, sharing the right information with them, asking them to follow, let's say, a sequence of rules, of guidelines that we provide them with, and acting as a Siemon in front of the customer. So I mean, once they install our systems and they are certified installers, so full 100% partners, the installation will be covered by 25 years warranty.
So 35 years?
25 years. Which is actually including the potential future applications compliant with that system. That means today you have to run 1 gig, that's okay, but if you go for an installation with a structured cabling solution which is today stated to be compliant with 10G, and then in 5 years you'll upgrade your system to 10G, we warrant the end user, direct warranty within the two of us, that their system will run smoothly.
Well, and that's really what's good specifications, good sort of rule following certifications are all about, fundamentally, to give you that flexibility to know that whatever future applications are developed for this style of infrastructure, if you've installed it and specified it correctly, then it's going to work, and you enjoy the flexibility that comes with that. Absolutely. Instead of, okay, we ran a cable, we plugged it in, it's working
today.
Okay,
now
all done.
Yep.
That's not a solid approach. Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about and you already touched on it a little bit. Let's talk about the trends that we see in increasing data rates for AV and for other applications. Is there any fundamentally new challenge in physical infrastructure, or is it just that 30 years ago 100 megabits was hard, 20 years ago 1 gigabit was hard, and today 10 gig is, I'm not going to say 10 gig is hard, it's not hard. Today let's say 100 gig is hard.
Let's say there is some way a trend these days. The potential bandwidth of a copper installation is approaching probably its limits. So I would say it's pretty easy to say right now that 10G is there. We have some systems which were developed just to support 40G as well. Typically, we talk about Cat 8 in that sense, which was standardized in order to support mainly data center high speed on some way limited distance, limited range.
Yeah.
Typically 40 meters, roughly. But again, this is what happened in the past for the other generation of cabling. So that where 10G was developed mainly with the focus of data centers, and nowadays we see that as a normal in audio video distribution or any high-speed requirement, or even for Wi-Fi backbones.
Yes.
For the new generation of Wi-Fi 6 or whatever. So again, 40G seems to be really a borderline now, but who knows? Nevertheless, the clear point, as you show here as well, there could be some alternatives, and there are some alternatives based on fiber optics.
Sure.
And again, there's I would say there should be always a good balance in design, in the selection of the solutions, depending on what actually your needs are, what you are expected to do over there. Again, very simply, but if you implement a copper solution, this will be supporting any PoE at any level, PoE 1, 2, 3, 4. Fiber will not be able to do that.
Right.
And then you have to identify what actually your key needs are, and again, related to bandwidth, I would say if years ago it was given that, okay, your cable will support 10 megs, 100 megs, no issues, there are big margins. Nowadays we are talking about 10 gigabit applications, so the minimum requirement should definitely be referred to category 6A, possibly thinking seriously about a shielded option, because a shielded option will give you margins, bigger margins over the standard specifications.
Yep.
And the margins are always good because your system will get older anyway, will have some impact, physical, mechanical, and aging is there. So after 25 years, if you start with some margins above the specifications, you will be sure to be standard compliance anyway.
And I'm imagining that's where new standards might come along. I'm just making things up, but if IEEE comes along and says, okay, we've got a new standard for 25 gig over copper, but it demands a Cat 6A
that
shielded. Well, you'll say, well, thank goodness I have that. It's a future proofing issue.
Absolutely.
That's kind of that's a phrase I don't even love, but that's what it is, right? The more margin you have, the more capabilities you can deliver.
Absolutely. And this also relates back to the PoE implementation, to the fact that if you run a bundle of cables with all of these links with PoE, there will be some ampere running over those cables, increase in temperature. And the better solution you will go to, the less you will be limited in the range of coverage of your systems. Typically in whatever standard you read, they tend to refer to an average temperature, environmental temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. But if you run power over those cables, temperature will naturally increase by themselves, and in bundles even worse. So in that sense, there are some graphs showing you how much you have to decrease your maximum length, which typically, the magic number is 100 meters. In that sense, if you run your system at 40 degrees Celsius, you might need to go shorter.
I didn't know that.
That's something that nobody, I would say, rarely diffuse information. And if you go for a Cat 6 solution, you might lose 20 meters in your range. If you go for a Cat 6A shielded, it will be much less. If you go for a Cat 7 or Cat 7A fully shielded cable, you will never have to worry about reducing your 100 maximum length.
But this is the kind of knowledge that really goes into fully designing the cable plant infrastructure. I'm reminded, so I've been familiar with Siemon since before SDVoE. You guys offer structured cable installer training. Is that still a 5-day course? Is that what I remember? It was several days.
It depends on the area. When I did myself, I attended that kind of training in the US, and that was actually a full 5 days training.
And I just want to highlight that because it speaks to just how much there is to know. And I think in general, most large-scale commercial AV jobs, usually, the infrastructure gets contracted out to a cable infrastructure specialist who has that kind of training, who's going to build the infrastructure the right way, test it, certify it. But it also speaks to if you're thinking about just taking the infrastructure for granted, remember that being properly trained takes 5 days.
Absolutely, correct. And of course, I don't want to worry anybody about the length of our training. That's been, I would say, sized according to the different needs and the different regions. But nevertheless, nowadays it's typically a 3 days training without having a chance in region, for instance, which was the case in the US, to visit the company, the installation, the labs, or whatever. So it was extended just due to that. But in the region, nevertheless, we keep on having this, I would say, serious approach, professional approach, in order to share the right information, of course, based on the evolution on the market, on the requirements, all of this.
I've been an advocate of it for such a long time because I've seen what happens when the infrastructure is not working right. It's a hard to troubleshoot, hard to diagnose nightmare.
Absolutely.
Because you just don't know where to begin. Life is so much easier. If you know that TV is flashing because of these electronics, fine. We're all trained in how to troubleshoot those electronics. If you can trust your infrastructure, then your life is much easier.
And if you want, this is even the reason why we ask our certified installers for any installation requiring our warranty to send us the test results that we check in detail, and if anything is missing, we get back to them, give them the right feedbacks in order to retest or to do any adjustments in order to be 100% sure that the installation is compliant with our guidelines.
And meanwhile, you guys have lots of products to make those things easy. I've seen some of your Cat 6A connect. People get scared of Cat 6A connectors and things. I've seen your contest, to terminate a Cat 6A in 42 seconds or whatever.
It's that's a joke if you want. It's a game, but the real message to the market is that whenever you get in front of your first row customers who are the installers, and then again consultants or end users, and you collect the information from them, all of their feedbacks, in order to make their life easier. This will make your life maybe a bit harder, because you need to keep on running at the edge in order to propose and promote something different to the market. But the solution that you give are some way giving an added value to the installer, which means, okay, I can do things in a simpler way. I know that my installation will be compliant and working at the right level. I possibly could save some time at the end of the day, so I could terminate more links in the same day, because I know that I will not have to redo my termination and so on. It's reliable, everything is reliable, so I could even be more competitive on the market some way, because by using the right tools in the right way, I could do more with less.
It's about efficiency, right?
Absolutely.
These guys are living on smaller and smaller margins, and it's a competitive advantage to be able to build your systems quickly and efficiently, and then not have to go visit them again after.
Exactly. It's true. One of the latest solutions that we presented to the market was actually just a simple plug for terminating direct. The systems, I would say, the design approach is called the MPTL. That's actually modular plug termination link. That means actually you can just terminate a Wi-Fi access point or a camera directly by using the cable you lay, by using this plug. But definitely that plug should be highly reliable and performing at the right level. So we have this solution, which is, I would say, which can work with Cat 6, Cat 6A, shielded, unshielded, stranded cords or solid cords. Any kind of one single part number can be used, and with a very consistent performance. So it's the solution.
That sounds like That sounds like an important product to Pro AV, because I think there are many cases when installers want to sort of plug into the channel cable rather than terminate to a jack and use a patch cord and all the proper ways.
It should be selected and adopted in the right way. Whenever your active device is expected to be some way fixed, not having, the cable you lay typically is made of solid conductors, which are not, I would say, developed to be flexible, one or the other. But anyway, for access point or for cameras, this is exactly the right solution.
Great. Well, Alberto, this was a great talk. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Is there anything else we should cover?
I guess
I think we did a great
there.
job.
Whatever.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm sure that I would say.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody.